49ers and wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk have agreed to a 4-year. That was important because people were suggesting that it was important to Aiyuk to get a 4-year, not a 3-year deal. So he agreed to a 4-year, $120 million contract extension with $76 million in guaranteed money, which is a lot of freaking guaranteed money. Now, when I first hear this, you break down these numbers, and this is a contract that people could have projected quite some time ago. It is $30 million a year, 4-year deal. Brandon Aiyuk is younger. I know when Debo got his contract, it was a 3-year deal. You have to imagine Debo plays a more physical brand of football with that wide back role that he has. Brandon Aiyuk is locked in to be on the ascension with Brock Purdy. This team's going to look very, very different in the upcoming years with this contract. I'm wondering, can they even afford to keep Debo next year for his final year? Or are they going to look to move off of him? I do find it likely that maybe they'll try to move off of him, as they already supposedly tried to do that this offseason. Both with Brandon and Debo, they were open to looking to offers. But next year, they're going to be signing Brock Purdy. Are they going to be able to have both Aiyuk and Debo Samuel making $25 and then $30 million a year? So that's $55 million just in the top 2 wide receivers on the team. I don't know if they're going to want to keep that, but either way, 2025, 2026, 27, Brandon Aiyuk's going to be that wide receiver one that he wanted to be, and the 49ers locked him into that. Now, what I am hearing from reports is apparently this deal, we don't have all the contract details yet, but apparently it is front-loaded, which means even though it's a 4-year deal, maybe most of that guarantee money is in the first 2 years, and they're keeping some, as some people like to call it, option power for the final 2 years of that deal, final year of that deal. We've seen that done with a lot of their stars that they've extended. They make that last year so they can either ask the player to take a pay cut, they can restructure and extend them longer. And it'll be interesting when all of the details come out. But I feel like what I'm wondering is why this deal did not get done sooner. I feel like the 49ers lost this deal. I don't know if that's fair to say, and maybe some people would disagree, but from all rumors, I thought the 49ers, the highest that they were going to go was $28 million. I know that it was reported the Patriots offered 32. I know that CeeDee Lamb just got signed for 34. See, Anthony says he caved. I disagree. $30 million is way farther than I would have wanted Aiyuk to be signed for. I know that the deal, I feel like because it's been prolonged, fans' opinions have wavered and changed on this. But in the beginning of the offseason, if you would have been informed that the 49ers were going to give Brandon Aiyuk $30 million a year for 4 years, I don't know if you would say that he's worth that much with his 3 catches in the last couple playoff games. What this makes me wonder is Kyle Shanahan is he open / going to change the way he calls offense? Because can you really have a guy making $30 million a year if he's not the star of your offense? Right now, he's the 4th target. He's right because you have Debo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, Kittle, Aiyuk. I don't know. See, everyone's going back and forth. I think most people, Israel also says Aiyuk caved. Maybe you guys are seeing it differently than I'm seeing it, but the final 30 was the final offer from 37 or from 27. Yes, I agree. I think the 49ers caved. I feel like they went up. And I just don't understand if they were eventually going to sign him in order to prevent what happened with Debo and with Bosa, where they had a down year after their contract extension. If the 49ers were going to offer 4 years, $30 million per year to Brandon Aiyuk, How did they not get this done at the beginning of the offseason or weeks or months ago, so he could have participated in training camp, so he could have participated in the final preseason game with the rest of the starters and really made sure he was in football shape? Grant Cohn asked at the last press conference if Brandon Aiyuk, because it's been reported he's been at the facility but not training with the team, but we know that other injured players, because he was claiming he was injured. I also do wonder if, like, because this last practice that just happened, the Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch came out and said that they were going to start fining Brandon Aiyuk because he had been claiming that the reason he was sitting out wasn't because it was a holdout, it was because he had a back injury. Obviously everyone understood it was because of the holdout, but it is kind of interesting how swiftly he accepted this deal. Now I'll get into it because apparently his agent and Adam Schefter, who I feel like is hearing things from the 49ers, they have different stories. But just 2 practices ago, Aiyuk started actually being fined because the 49ers trainers evaluated his back and concluded that he did not have any back issues and he had to be with the team, especially because I think final roster cutdowns just happened. He was taking up a spot on that 53-man roster. So they said, hey, dude, if you're going to be taking up a spot, because you got to remember, Trent Williams wasn't taking up a spot because he was doing a hold out. But because Brandon Aiyuk was holding in and just claiming it was because of an injury, even though he was evaluated and they said he wasn't injured at all, and everyone knew he's just doing that in order to wait until he got the contract he was offered. But as soon as he started being fined for sitting out of practices, he accepts this deal that apparently, according to Adam Schefter, I'll read this because, like I said, different people have different takes. Really quickly, because I want to really quickly. Israel says, Schefter tweeted that the deal had been on the table since August 10th. Maybe he just didn't want to practice. Now, there's 2 things going on here. One, we'll talk about what Adam Schefter said, which was the deal that Brandon Aiyuk just accepted today has been the same deal that the 49ers put on the table August 10th. Now, if you guys remember, prior to August 10th, the last time that the 49ers gave a offer to Brandon Aiyuk was in May, and it was apparently $24 million, which is crazy. And they hadn't upped their offer. So in some sense, Brandon Aiyuk definitely got them to come up quite a bit on August 10th, if that is when they made their $30 million deal. Now, the issue is, if this is true and Brandon Aiyuk could have accepted this deal weeks ago, but was just interested in the media attention. You have to remember, since August 10th, they've had that handshake practice. They've had not all, but most of their preseason games. Really quickly, Marco is in the chat saying, ooh, who broke the news? If you've seen Marco and I's messages or tuned into our stream, you know that Marco has been saying for quite some time that Brandon Aiyuk was going to sign with the 49ers. I definitely agree. And he says he's lying about this. So that's what I wanted to talk about really quickly. Like Israel said, Adam Schefter tweeted out, in the end, Brandon Aiyuk accepted the same deal that has been on the table since August 10th. Interesting. As I'm reading this, I got a Twitter notification saying there's an updated version of this where Adam Schefter took out August 10th and now just says August. So maybe when he was called out by Brandon Aiyuk's agent, which we're going to get to, he decided that he would change that. But anyway, so the original tweet that has been out there up until like this minute was Brandon Aiyuk accepted the same deal that has been on the table since August 10th, per league sources. His hold-in did not alter his 4-year deal. This is so from the 49ers. You can tell that they're like still trying to save face when it's like, dude, like, no one cares. Like, you, at this point, you lost the deal because it took you up until 8 days before the regular season. Or you can say you won the deal because you got the player. And the in my opinion, how they should have looked at this in the beginning was that getting Brandon Aiyuk on the team, securing him with Brock Purdy, having a younger, capable wide receiver who can run routes, who can get open, having him with Brock Purdy ascending at the same time that George Kittle's getting older and not going to be on the team. Christian McCaffrey for a running back, older and already struggling with injury. Deebo Samuel struggling with injury every year and only has 1 year left on his contract. To me, the 49ers should have gone into this offseason thinking that winning the deal just meant securing Brandon Aiyuk on their team. Unfortunately, they wanted to win numbers-wise. In my opinion, they didn't at all. But obviously, Schefter, being a mouthpiece for the 49ers right here, says Aiyuk's holding did not alter any part of this new 4-year deal. $120 million extension. He took the same deal that has been on the table for weeks. The hold-in is over. Now, what I would say if I was Aiyuk looking at this is, well, up until August 10th, when they offered me this new deal, they were offering me $24 million. So clearly something I did helped. But with that tweet, and once again, it's now been updated because Schefter got called out, clearly, once again, being a mouthpiece for the 49ers, which by the way, I don't like that immediately upon the deal being announced, like it feels like Aiyuk's camp and the 49ers camp are like still not happy. They're still competing to get the narrative out of who won. Seems a little petty right now. Like, why is this the 49ers priority? They should just move on. They don't need to worry about how they look anymore. In my opinion, they look bad. And some people, even in my chat, people are saying that they look good. And Brandon Aiyuk is the one that acquiesced. I think that they need to drop it and stop trying to control the narrative and just start preparing for the actual season. Been a lot of drama for no reason. Ryan Williams, who is Brandon Aiyuk's agent, quote tweeted that tweet that was by Adam Schefter, clearly mouthpiece for the team, and said, "This is factually inaccurate, but the check still clears," with a winking face. So basically saying, this is bullshit. The 49ers are out here trying to skew the narrative, but who gives a fuck because we're rich as hell now. Whatever. I kind of love that response to him I kind of love that response from him, not gonna lie. Obviously, I haven't been a huge fan of Brandon Aiyuk's antics this entire offseason, but he's sitting there like this is life-changing money for himself and future generations. He's like, okay, you want to pretend that you won the freaking contract negotiation? You do that because I'm just cashing the money, baby. You can say whatever you want. But I like that his agent came back and wanted to say, hey, that's not true. And that is repeated here by Clutch Gene Sports, who is Marco. We do a show together. He's saying the guaranteed money was not what it was as of yesterday, which is news to me. I don't have sources like that. But 26 in May is what Anthony is saying. The offer has come up since 26 in May. According to Matt Mayoko, who, in my opinion, has close ties to the 49ers, he was saying in May, which was the most recent offer prior to August 10th, the deal or the offer that was given was $24 million. Anyways, Jesus says, Niners, NFL, Aiyuk played this to stay in the news. It was all I can't talk. It was all a publicity. It was all an attention grab because apparently I can't say that word right now because the Niners are trending news. Well, I'm not going to complain because it's been nice for my YouTube channel. My most viewed video that I've ever done was breaking quote unquote news when we had the report that there was for sure a done deal with the Steelers. Do you guys remember those rumors? Talking about people who claim that they have sources. What happened to all those guys that were guaranteeing that Aiyuk was going to go to the Steelers? I will say I don't know if it's smart to sign Brandon Aiyuk to a $30 million deal. I don't think that's the best, just because it's bad team building strategy. However, the cap's going up. $30 million this year is kind of like what 24-25 was last year. So maybe it sounds like a larger number than it is, when actually it's kind of the same percentage of the cap that it's been in the past. But what I was going to say, whether or not I think it's smart that I think the Niners are stupid for waiting so long to sign Brandon Aiyuk. I think that they should have made it a priority to give him an actual contending offer. If they would have offered my number, I always thought it was 28. So I'm hearing from a lot of people in the chat that they think Brandon Aiyuk took a discount. I was assuming that the 49ers weren't going to go above $28 million. So I think that they acquiesced to Aiyuk. I think if they would have offered 28 in the beginning of this offseason, back when Miami signed Jalen Waddle, when the Lions paid Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Aiyuk did get like double the amount of guaranteed number that St. Brown got. I think St. Brown has something like $35 million guaranteed, and I could be wrong about that. I should look it up to be specific, but I know that Brandon Aiyuk's $76 million is much more than St. Brown's. I think that the Niners could have signed Aiyuk for a lot less if they would have came with a stronger offer earlier on, and they still would have ended up signing him less, and they would have had him participating all offseason, getting those reps with Brock Purdy. I know we've heard from, all sorts of reporters that connection between Brandon Aiyuk and Brock Purdy is so special. Well, they haven't gotten to work on it all year. Now, maybe that doesn't matter. Last year, Brock Purdy was dealing with his elbow injury up until week 1, and they still had a great connection this year. But in my opinion, I'm more disappointed in how the 49ers have handled this offseason than I am Brandon Aiyuk. Now, if there was some sort of deal August 10th, which is, some people are saying that it's since been up, some people are saying it's the same, but if it was the same deal and Brandon Aiyuk was just using these last 3 weeks to get, more footage for his documentary that he's putting out, I find that to be kind of bullshit. I think it's pretty selfish, and I'm very pro player. Jed York's a billionaire. It's not going to hurt him to pay Brandon Aiyuk, but I think there is something. Steve Young went on KNBR last week talking about both Trent and Brandon Aiyuk, and he gave Brandon Aiyuk some grace since Aiyuk is the younger of the two, but he really talked about how disappointing it is to see these players when that the team is going to, is Hufanga going to be on the team next year? Is Charvarius Ward going to be on the team? There's so many people that are up for contract extensions, Brock Purdy getting paid. You would really hope that everyone, instead of making their main priority to be, give me a check, would have been, let's go get a Super Bowl. We have one last opportunity. It feels like for the last 8 years, they've been revenge touring it up. And then for some reason, during the final year, everyone decided to look out for themselves, which I can also see the argument that you sacrifice for the team you sacrifice. Eventually you need to make sure you can get yours. But I don't know. It was impressive to me hearing the leadership in Steve Young's voice. And I wonder if Brock being a younger player in some sense is a disservice to this team, because I don't necessarily feel like he can go up to, Trent Williams or Brandon Aiyuk and say, hey, you need to put your stuff to the side and put the team first. But that was what Steve Young was insinuating. And I know if he was the quarterback right now, and there was rumors that Brandon Aiyuk could have been in the final 2 preseason games, in the final 3 weeks of practice going into the Jets game, right now, is BA going to be practice or playing against the Jets? I don't know if I would want to do that if I'm a coach. I'm trying to think back to Bosa. I think held out until 4 days of the regular season, and he didn't practice week 1, or he didn't play week 1 of last year. If I'm incorrect, let me know in the comments. But like now you have to worry, like, is Brandon Aiyuk going to pull a hamstring? Can he his body withstand the physical contact of football? Like, even if he's been running routes in his backyard, I don't know if I ever completed the sentence that I started on forever ago, but one of the reporters asked a day ago if Brandon Aiyuk has been working out with any of the trainers or anyone from the 49ers staff at all this offseason, just catching passes at the facility, even not during practice, but just on their own time. Because they have confirmed that he's like lifted in the weight room, he's been in the classroom. But Kyle Shanahan swiftly and quickly denied that comment and said, nope, hasn't caught a pass. Has not caught a pass from anyone hired by the 49ers organization. That means no Brock Purdy, no Kyle Shanahan, no trainer, no rehab guy. No passes have been caught by Brandon Aiyuk this offseason. I don't know. Can you put a guy like that out there week one? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe you think it's not that big of a deal for wide receivers. Kyle Shanahan was asked, is it hard for offensive linemen and for wide receivers to get into football shape? And he said, yeah, that he feels like they need up to 9 practices during his interview with KNBR last week. So, I mean, they don't have 9 practices before week 1. And that goes for both Brandon Aiyuk and Trent Williams. Anyways, I'm going to look through the comments really quick. Once again, just for anyone tuning in new, Brandon Aiyuk, 4 years, $120 million, and $76 million guaranteed. To compare that to Amon-Ra St. Brown, because a lot of people were saying that if the 49ers would have offered him that deal months ago, he would have accepted that. St. Brown did get the $120 million per year, which is the $30 million per year, but their guaranteed money is much different. And what is unknown right now, because BA's camp and the 49ers camp are saying different things, is the 49ers are saying that they've had that exact offer on the table since August 10th, and that everything since August 10th has been a show and an act of selfishness and wanting drama and wanting attention, an act of ego on Brandon Aiyuk's side. Obviously, they're not using that language, but that's what I would call that if he just wasn't accepting an offer just so he could help create more contact for his documentary coming up. But then, so that's the 49ers side. But Brandon Aiyuk's agent did come out and say that's a lie. And it was just yesterday that they upped that guaranteed money. And that's what made Brandon Aiyuk sign. We don't know which side is lying or telling the truth. I actually think it's kind of bad that they're even arguing about that right now. You would think like you just got a deal done. This is like you're like marrying someone for the next 4 years. This should be like the happiest time. Like, it was so contentious all off season, but we finally got it done. And as the 49ers organization, we're so excited to have Brandon Aiyuk here. We're so excited for him to be on the ascension with our young quarterback that, we think might be a franchise quarterback that we're going to extend next year. And instead, and same thing with Brandon Aiyuk, he should be thinking, I just made the money of a lifetime. My grandchildren's grandchildren are going to be set for life. And instead, both sides are on Twitter moments after the deal is done, arguing about when the deal got done. I don't know. I don't necessarily don't love all of that. Is this true? St. Brown got $77 million guaranteed. I feel like I can look this up. Don't worry, I'm going to look this up for you guys because someone was telling me right before the show that St. Brown contract. Someone was telling me that, oh, you're so right. Oh, so he got less. Damn. Why was someone telling me before that someone was telling me before that Brandon Aiyuk got more guaranteed money than St. Brown, but he didn't. You're so right. Unless Google is wrong and I'm not like looking it up correctly, but this contract or this comment and what I'm reading, it says St. Brown signed a 4-year, $120 million contract with the Detroit Lions, including 16 million signing bonus and 77 guaranteed, an average salary of $30 million per year. So that means he got 1 million more than Brandon Aiyuk guaranteed, which isn't crazy. It does bother me that I quite literally think 2 months ago, either I don't remember if it was his agent at the time or if it was like Ryan Clark, some random guy that Aiyuk could talk to on a podcast, but went out on one of the national media platforms and said if the 49ers were to give Brandon Aiyuk the St. Brown deal, that he would sign it. And if that's true, and it feels true because literally they have $30 million a year, both players, $120 million 4-year deal, both players, 77 guaranteed, 76 million guaranteed. I mean, that's basically the same exact fucking thing at that point. I know that's hilarious to say because, like, can I spare? Can the million mean something to me? But when you're 77 versus 76 million, I don't think that means that much. But yeah, if the 49ers didn't offer this 2 months ago, and Aiyuk was supposedly telling people that he would accept this deal, I mean, that's fucking horrible on the 49ers side. Just like, how did you go an entire offseason? Like, what? I thought that the 49ers were holding out to, and by holding out, I mean like withholding, upping their offer, because I thought that Aiyuk was going to sign for $28 million. I didn't think so I'm thinking when I look at this, I think the 49ers look bad. They should have signed him much quicker. And apparently he could have been out there all offseason, getting reps. He could have been practicing with the team, making sure he was in football shape, not putting the mental stress on his body, which is so important. When you tense muscles, that leads to injury. Not practicing at 110% like you are in practice. Like, even if you're not doing contact, you're running at full speed. When you're in preseason, when they had the first string guys out there, they were participating in actual football activity. This is all stuff Brandon Aiyuk has not done because he didn't have a contract yet. If the 49ers didn't offer him this and he would have accepted this deal 2 months ago, that's egg on their face. Now, obviously, we don't know. Maybe Brandon Aiyuk wasn't offering it, and it just took, like I said, 2 practices ago, they started fining him. So maybe it just took them inciting those fines for him to finally accept the deal. But even then, like, you should have started fining him earlier then. What are you doing? Really quickly, I'm going to look at the comments, and then I have some more tweets to go over. But wow. Aiyuk is a better blocker than St. Brown. Yeah, but you don't get paid to be a blocker. You get paid for getting the ball, and St. Brown gets the ball, gets way more targets than Brandon Aiyuk. That's something I can answer within the chat. Do you think that Brandon Aiyuk is worth, Johnny Angel says he better live up to that money. Do you think that it's smart to sign your second wide receiver, potentially third, fourth target? I think Brandon Aiyuk called himself the fourth option within this offense. Now, last year, I think he did get the second most targets or something, but he's not the number one. They have Christian McCaffrey. He gets the ball a shit ton. They get, Kyle Shanahan has the biggest, crush on Deebo Samuel, and they try to get him the ball 12 times a game. They're getting Kittle more involved. Kittle has a good relationship with Brandon Aiyuk, with Brock Purdy, getting him the ball. Obviously, it's important to have Brandon Aiyuk on the team. To me, he's the best guy at actually running routes and getting open, where the other guys kind of rely on getting schemed up or having those crosser routes. So I think it is important to have a guy like BA on the team. But is Kyle Shanahan going to adjust his system and start targeting Brandon Aiyuk more? Because if you're paying a guy $30 million, can he really get 3 targets in a game? I mean, in the last 2 years in the playoffs, he got 3 targets. You can't pay a guy. $10 million per target, I'm gonna become a football player. Let's go, baby. Hold on one second. I might go try to shut that little blind. Usually I don't go live this late in the day because the sun gets all in my face. But Brandon Aiyuk didn't want to accept this offer forever ago, so we got to do it now. Leon says, and I think probably in response to my question, is Brandon Aiyuk worth $30 million a year, 4 years? Said he's not anymore. The 49ers aren't going to get their money's worth. I kind of agree. Now, Al Bundy, regular, says 49ers want to win now. They can't let Aiyuk walk. $30 million is fine. Yeah, but could they have forced him to play on that 5th-year option? Could they have gone down the wire and called his bluff? He clearly didn't want to lose money. He was fined for 2 games and all of a sudden signed a deal. So clearly it was important to, you have to understand, he how much he was a first rounder. So he got paid what, 7, what was BA's first contract just to getting drafted in the NFL? Probably under $10 million total, right? I know for a first rounder you get a little bit more, but it wasn't, $100 million air. So 2 practices. Sorry if I said that wrong. He got fined for 2 practices, but I don't know if he would have wanted to risk multiple game day checks. Maybe he would have sat out week 1, risk 1 check. But right now, I don't know if he's going to practice week 1 just based on the fact that he hasn't been practicing in actual practice. Is he going to be in football shape for week 1? So if he sits out for week 1 just because his body isn't literally ready yet, is it worth, couldn't they have just made him do that on his 5th-year option? Everyone talk to your, I wish I was going to have people call in. Rob in the Bay says, hi, Ashley. He made $16 million so far. So, to me, that's a shit ton of money. But Brandon Aiyuk didn't want to face, the reason that he didn't do what Trent Williams did is he didn't want to face the holdout fines. And the 49ers were able to waive the fines up until 2 practices ago when they started fining him. And look at how quickly he signed after he started getting fined. I don't know if he wanted to sacrifice a game day check, which is way more than a practice check. So I don't know, kind of stupid. Will you guys, if I run 2 seconds over there, will you guys leave? Don't. I'm just gonna try to get that little thing away. Look, you can still hear me. Okay, I'm a little bit darker, but I didn't want to be able to go. Maya says he has 11 days. So I think Maya's trying to tell me she thinks he will be on the field for Jets week. Okay, I'm going to write in the banners. Like I said, I did this all last minute because it was breaking news. But do you think BA is worth or will live up to his contract? Will live up to $30 million a year. I'm interested because everyone is reporting that the deal is front loaded. So I'm interested, is it just the final year that they can cut off? Because for a while, people were saying that the deal wasn't getting done because there was one more thing that Aiyuk wanted, and it was rumored, and who knows if this is true or not, but it was rumored that the 49ers wanted to sign BA to a 3-year deal and that BA wanted the 4-year deal. Well, if they front load the deal and they make that final year a year that they could potentially eat the dead cap if it's really, really not that much money, that'll be interesting. And then what else did I really quickly? Chris A says, most players don't live up to their contract. You essentially are paying them for what they did already and what they could do in the future. Where I get into trouble is I thought that the 49ers should have signed Brandon Aiyuk. I wasn't someone advocating that they trade him away because I wanted I don't know what's happening right now. Sorry, someone was texting me. I'm just so popular. Just kidding. But really lost my train of thought there. Oh, for this year. So some people were saying that they should have traded Brandon Aiyuk away. I always thought that they should have kept Brandon Aiyuk. It just makes sense because I don't know, knock on, who knows, because I know that Kyle and Debo have like a friendship outside of football where they talk about their families and, seem to have little, friendship crushes on each other. So maybe they extend Debo. But if you guys watch that receiver show where Debo was impressive, and obviously like anyone who's a fan of the 49ers has seen Debo be an impressive player. However, he gets injured a lot. And he's older. I think is he going to be 29 when his deal comes up? So I don't know if they're going to want to extend Deebo Samuel after next year. Kittle, same thing. Kittle's much older, just had surgery. I don't think they're going to want to extend him unless he takes significantly. Maybe he will. Maybe he wants to retire a 49er. I do think that Kittle has really bought into like the organization. We saw last year when he had the F Dallas shirt and all that. I think he's proud to be a 49er. So maybe he takes a lower deal knowing that he's older. But Chris McCaffrey suffering from the calf injury that's connected to your Achilles. By the way, yesterday went for a run after like not working out for like 2 weeks. My Achilles hurt and I got kind of nervous. Not gonna lie. I was like, oh my God, am I gonna die? Am I getting old? I'm getting old. If I was a running back, they'd be like, you're too old to play. But but I always thought that the 49ers needed to extend Brandon Aiyuk because Aiyuk is not only one of the only pass catchers that can consistently get open against good defenses, which is so important, not just in the regular season, but more important in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl. Now, I don't think he's targeted enough right now, but I think that's a Kyle Shanahan problem, not a Brandon Aiyuk problem. I think that Brandon Aiyuk deserves more targets. And I will say, I think the 49ers might agree with us. Maybe this was Kyle saying, yep, like, and it doesn't even necessarily need to happen this year, but 2026, 2027, they're moving to have BA be the number one guy. So I know what Chris A is saying is you pay players for what they did in the past. And I think they did that with Debo. I think he's gone down since his extension. I don't mean to be rude, but I don't think that's a shock to anyone. I think maybe Debo himself would even admit that. His best year was his contract year. I think that Brandon Aiyuk could be ascending, could be improving, and him and Purdy can have a marriage, and they can be the little core, the new core. The veterans are the old core, but those guys aren't going to be around for much longer. To me, this is their final year until this team looks totally different. So I think the 49ers could be paying Aiyuk for what he's going to do in the future, knowing that he's going to get more targets in the upcoming years when there's not a Christian McCaffrey on the team, when there's either not a Kittle on the team or Kittle is older, when there's not a Debo on the team. That's when Aiyuk is going to be the role model for these young players, for a Jacob Cowing, for a Ricky. And his connection with Brock Purdy is going to be that special connection that people are looking for within the NFL. I think that they can be that duo. Now, why they couldn't have come to this conclusion at the beginning of the offseason, I don't know. So I'm going to say, I think, and maybe it's wishful thinking, because I am, at the end of the day, a bit of a fan. Not a bit, I am a fan. Maybe it's wishful thinking, but I think out of a Brandon Aiyuk and a Debo Samuel, I think BA is more likely to live up to his contract than Debo did. And that's no slight against Debo. This is maybe bad to say, but I think I favor Debo. Like, Debo is my favorite player to watch when he's on. I don't think Brandon Aiyuk has ever taken over a game the way that Debo has taken over a season. But when it comes to longevity, I think that the way Brandon Aiyuk plays is more consistent. He's missed way less games, hasn't suffered with injuries, and he plays a style of football that is going to be important in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl, and that can last with Brock Purdy when the other guys are being moved off of. So I think if there's an opportunity for someone to live up to their contract, Brandon Aiyuk is one of those guys. Robin the Bay says, rude boy. Are you talking about Aireonna's song? Call me, rude boy, give it up. Call me, rude boy. I used to like that one. Al Bundy says Debo is traded after this year. Just saying Debo is in a contract year and he's in great shape for a reason. I know he only likes to care during his contract years. I don't know. I know Mike Silver, a couple journalists for the 49ers, maybe a month or two ago, wrote an article saying if this is a contract year for Debo Samuel and Brandon Aiyuk, which one's going to go off better? And I'm someone who believes that with motivation, Debo's not someone who can be comfortable. And that's something I don't feel for Brandon Aiyuk. Like, I think Brandon Aiyuk has pride in himself as a player and will want to play even though he just got paid. Where I think Debo got a little, what do they say, like fat and happy. And I'm not trying to diss Debo. I like to, eat junk food and be happy too, but I'm not getting paid millions of dollars to be in shape.